The hall smelled like 12 different kinds of incense, and at least one kind of interstellar ego. It shimmered under a dome made of crystallized star matter, and rows upon rows of nobles from every arm of the galaxy sat in radiant silence, each of them armored in culture, pride, and ridiculous headpieces. Somewhere near the back, a short man in a borrowed tunic was sweating profusely. Leo tried not to move. His shoes, ceremonial, stiff, and possibly alive, pinched like a vice with delusions of grandeur. He shifted his weight and immediately drew the attention of a five-eyed ambassador who looked like a glittering sea cucumber and definitely disapproved of his existence. Leo gave a tight smile. The ambassador didn't blink, probably didn't have eyelids. A hush fell. Queen Sarilith of Zelvara stepped forward, luminous in silver and gold, a regal figure carved from command itself. Her long ears arched upward, their edges adorned with microcrystals that chimed faintly as she moved. The hall bent around her presence like gravity around a collapsed star. She walked with a gait that made seasoned generals stand straighter and opportunistic dukes recalculate their ambitions. Leo, trying not to fidget, swallowed and accidentally activated the small translator clipped to his collar. It burbled something obscene in Vralian. The duke beside him flinched. Leo turned it off. Sarilith ascended the dais. Today was the bonding declaration, a ceremony older than light drive engines, older than half the planets in the room. Traditionally, the queen would select a mate from among the royal houses, strategic, political, ancestral. It was more treaty than romance, more alliance than affection. Everyone knew it, which made what happened next so delightfully catastrophic. She turned to the assembly, her voice clear and unshakable. "This man is my mate." Gasps rippled like sonic shockwaves. Somewhere, a senator from Helios 3 dropped her crystalline goblet. A lesser duke choked on his own disbelief. The ambassador with five eyes blinked, all at once. Leo stared at her, blinking slowly as if someone had just hit pause on his entire brain. He cleared his throat. Hi." No one breathed. A noble from the house of Thyrex sputtered, That human." Another stood. "Your Majesty, surely this is symbolic." "I do not jest," Sarilith said. Someone did faint then. A clattering cascade echoed from the left wing as attendants rushed to retrieve a minor prince whose headgear had spun dramatically as he collapsed. Leo glanced at Sarilith. Her expression didn't change, but her long ears twitched slightly, the only sign she was amused. Leo muttered, "So, do I get a badge or—" The silence turned icy. Sarilith turned to him then, and it was like watching a mountain consider its favorite rock. "No badge," she said. "You get me." He gulped. "Neat." The next hour was chaos wrapped in decorum. Nobles demanded private audiences. Generals flared their cloaks in protest. The royal AI, Velia, descended from the ceiling as a floating projection of blue fire and politely asked Leo if he had consumed any unauthorized aphrodisiacs. "I had a latte," he replied. "Explain this latte," Velia said coldly. Meanwhile, Sarilith refused all discussions of reversing her decision. She remained seated at the throne, one leg crossed over the other, gaze calm, demeanor terrifying. Leo sat slightly behind her, trying to blend into the upholstery. By evening, the crowd thinned. The hall emptied. Courtiers filed out in scandalized clumps, whispering in at least 25 different dialects. Velia remained, now projecting a warning icon above Leo's head that read, "Biological anomaly. Possibly contagious." "Stop it," Leo hissed. Velia beeped smugly and vanished. At last, Sarilith rose, approached him and said, "Walk with me." He followed because, what else do you do when a war goddess disguised as a monarch tells you to walk? The corridor they entered curved along the side of the palace dome, revealing the gas oceans of Zelvara Prime below, churning in violent lavender and teal. "I'm going to ask the obvious question," Leo said, hands stuffed in the sleeves of his too long robe. "Are you having a breakdown?" She didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice was soft. "I am a queen who has seen 12 wars, negotiated peace in 3 systems, and crushed 2 rebellions before breakfast. I do not break down. I make decisions." "Decisions involving awkward humans with bad posture?" Her mouth quirked. You were honest in the hall. You did not flinch. You were ridiculous, but unafraid. I flinched. I flinched so hard I'm pretty sure my ancestors felt it. You stood your ground. I was too confused to run. She stopped, turned, and still, you stayed. He looked up at her, standing bathed in the glow of stars and throne light, and realized for the first time that she wasn't just playing politics. Her eyes didn't shine with calculation. They shimmered with something dangerously close to hope. You're serious. Yes. Queen serious. Her long ears twitched again. Yes. I'm still not sure how this happened. I was just translating some old treaty scrolls yesterday. Then this morning, I got summoned to the palace, and now I'm apparently consort material. You were chosen. He rubbed his temples. Does this come with health insurance? She blinked. Never mind, he sighed. They walked in silence a moment longer. Then he said quietly, You really don't care what they think, do you? I care about the empire, she said. I care about peace. I care about choosing freely. They will adjust. And if they don't? Sarilith paused. Her eyes were calm. Then I will break the empire and build a new one. Leo exhaled. No pressure then. As they returned to the royal wing, passing murals of stars and scenes of ancient battles, Leo thought about his apartment on Earth, about his cat that probably thought he was dead, about the toaster he never unplugged. Is there, like, an official handbook for this? He asked. You will be briefed, she said. Will it explain how not to trip on these robes? No, of course not. At the chamber doors, she turned to him once more. Sleep well, Leo of Earth. You too, Queen Sarilith of majestic intimidation. She raised an eyebrow. You may call me Sarilith. He grinned. Then you can call me Leo. Or, your excellently confusedness. She didn't laugh, but she did smile just barely. And in that tiny curve of her lips, Leo realized something absurdly wonderful. He might be in way over his head, but she was serious. And maybe, just maybe, so was he. Leo woke up in a bed that probably cost more than the GDP of his home country. It was shaped like a crescent moon, softly glowing with embedded starlight threads, and it smelled faintly of something between jasmine and confidence. For a man who had spent most of his adult life sleeping on a mattress with one collapsed spring and a persistent cat, the experience was disorienting. The ceiling above him shimmered, displaying the slow dance of Zilvara's moons, and a soothing voice cooed, Good morning, consort candidate. Your blood pressure is higher than recommended for your species. Shall I initiate guided breathing? Leo groaned. Cancel guided breathing. Initiate guided breakfast. A few mechanical clicks later, a tray hovered in from the wall like a dutiful but judgmental ghost. It carried a mug of something dark and steaming, along with a selection of foodstuffs that looked suspiciously alive. One of them pulsed. Leo ignored it and went straight for the coffee. Human nutrition protocols are still in calibration, the voice added, with all the enthusiasm of a robot forced to babysit a toddler. Side effects may include levitation, mild hallucinations, or random multilingual outbursts. Leo sipped. Tastes like espresso with a hint of betrayal. He was halfway through a slice of something that resembled bread if bread had been genetically spliced with jellyfish when the door slid open. A figure stood silhouetted against the light, tall, armored, and exuding the kind of energy that made generals straighten up and small children reconsider tantrums. Am I late for alien in-law brunch? Leo asked, wiping his hands on his robe. You are scheduled for diplomatic orientation, Sarilith said, stepping into the room. She was dressed not in royal finery but in a sleek tunic with high boots, a belt with tiny blinking devices, and an air of calm menace. Her long ears flicked slightly as she surveyed the half-eaten breakfast tray. You did not touch the glow fruit. It glowed at me first. She raised one brow. Coward. I like my food to not flirt with me. She ignored that and handed him a datapad. You'll be briefed by the Royal Integration Council. You'll also need to pass a cultural fluency test and be fitted for ceremonial attire. Leo blinked. Do I get to fail with style, or is that not permitted? You may fail with great spectacle, but not style. As she turned to leave, Leo caught up. padding beside her through a corridor filled with soft light and gentle hums. Servants bowed as they passed. One alien with translucent skin emitted a low musical tone and promptly tripped over its own robes. Sarilith didn't slow down. She had the kind of stride that conquered planets. "Quick question," Leo said. "What exactly does being your mate entail?" She did not break stride. "You will accompany me to state functions, provide strategic insight where possible, endure media cycles, occasionally wield ceremonial authority, and support the continuity of the throne." "Right, so eye candy with light paperwork?" She looked at him. "I chose you for your insight. Insight number one, this is absolutely bonkers." "Correct," she said. "You may yet survive." Their destination was a chamber filled with screens, holograms, and a table shaped like a flattened galaxy. Around it sat 5 individuals who radiated the exact energy of people who didn't trust the color beige unless they personally approved it. The Royal Integration Council stood to greet Sarilith, then eyed Leo with the reverence usually reserved for viruses. "Counselors," Sarilith announced, "this is Leo of Earth." The oldest among them, a woman with metallic braids and laser-etched glasses, adjusted her lenses and peered at Leo. "You're shorter than anticipated." "I contain multitudes," Leo said, most of them anxious. They handed him a document titled Protocol 8821-D, Consort Behavioral Guidelines. It was 1,000 pages long. The first rule was, do not explode. The second was, if you do explode, apologize promptly. "Do you want me to read all of this?" he asked. "No," said a sallow-skinned man with 6 fingers. "You are expected to embody it." "I'm still figuring out how to embody a robe without tripping." The briefing was painful. Questions were asked about Leo's background, his intentions, his ability to digest certain atmospheric compounds. A test was administered where he had to distinguish between intergalactic faux pas and mortal insults. He scored a 64%. One of the counselors wept softly. Afterwards, Sarilith led him to the royal atrium, where stars shimmered across a projected sky dome, and floating islands drifted lazily over gardens. A dragon-like creature blinked at him from a perch, and then sneezed glitter. "Are all meetings that fun?" Leo asked. "That was the least stressful one you will attend." "Neat. I'll bring snacks next time." She turned to face him. "You held yourself with humor. That is rare here. Humor is my survival instinct. Right after 'don't touch glowing things,' her gaze softened, just a touch. It will serve you well." They stood there for a moment, the silence between them oddly comfortable. Leo studied her, the battle-worn poise, the way her ears caught the ambient sounds, the subtle way her eyes tracked movement, constantly calculating, yet not cold. There was steel in her, yes, but also something unshakably alive. "You really meant it," he said, "choosing me." "I meant it more than anything I've done in years. Even more than declaring war on the moon pirates of Zal." They were arrogant and poorly dressed. An easy decision. Leo smiled. "So I'm your biggest mistake yet. Or my most interesting one." A small chime interrupted them. Velia's voice echoed from the ceiling. "Your Highness, incoming communique from the Kareth Alliance. They request clarification on your consort's biological weapon status." "I'm sorry, what?" Leo blurted. "There is a rumor," Sarilith said dryly, "that you are an engineered organism designed to psychologically destabilize royal courts." Leo laughed. "Well, I did once cause a minor HR scandal by microwaving tuna in a shared office. So, not entirely false." "I will clarify your species is merely inconvenient, not destabilizing." "Gee, thanks." As they made their way back toward the inner palace, Leo glanced up at her. "You know, this whole thing still feels like a dream." "It is not." "Then I guess I should try to make it worth your while." "You already have." "By being ridiculous?" "By being real." And somewhere, deep beneath the golden floors of the palace, the AI listened quietly and made a note in the consort profile logs. Subject, highly unpredictable. Current rating, puzzling, but possibly essential. Leo had known awkward dinners. He had once attended a birthday party where the host forgot his own name halfway through grace, but nothing quite compared to the interstellar welcome banquet being held in his accidental honor. The Grand Hall of Seralith's palace looked like a nebula had exploded across a five-star restaurant. The walls shimmered with soft blues and greens. Animated tapestries played recorded battles in slow, tasteful loops, and the chandeliers dripped with floating orbs of compressed starlight. It was all magnificent, terrifying, and severely lacking in anything resembling a breadstick. He stood beside Seralith at the head table, wearing ceremonial robes that were so ornate they seemed designed to restrict movement as a security precaution. His collar was stiff enough to pick up satellite signals. On either side of them were dignitaries from across the galaxy, some humanoid, others less so. One representative from the aquatic realms of Saren spoke only in bubble patterns and had to be accompanied by a tank and a translator shaped like a melodramatic crab. Seralith leaned toward him slightly. Do not attempt to eat the pink spiral. It's decorative and lightly venomous. Leo nudged it away from his plate. Lightly venomous is still too venomous. That's my food policy. Spoken like a true consort, he grinned. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Immensely. The opening speech was given by a dignitary who looked like a cross between a marble statue and a wind tunnel. He spoke of unity, the importance of tradition, and the stabilizing influence of royal partnerships. When he finally addressed Leo, the hall grew still. We welcome the Terran male into the fold, he intoned. May his contributions be proportionate to his unexpected arrival. Leo gave a little wave. I contribute sarcasm and digestive uncertainty. Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. Whether out of courtesy or confusion, he wasn't sure. The statuesque speaker blinked slowly. We accept this. Dishes were served in courses, each more mysterious than the last. One platter emitted a soft hum that made Leo's fillings tingle. Another was described as a delicacy from the fungal rings of Brelax Minor and tried to crawl off his plate. Seralith expertly pinned it with her fork and offered him half. I'm not sure I can eat anything that resists being food, Leo said. Conquering your fear of cuisine is a rite of passage. Where I'm from, that's called trying sushi for the first time. Midway through the meal, the entertainment began. A trio of dancers spun through zero-gravity loops above the hall, ribbons trailing from their limbs like comet tails. One accidentally collided with a chandelier and spent the rest of the performance clinging to it with quiet dignity. No one mentioned it. Then came the panel of elders, ancient advisors who had served the throne since the reign of Seralith's grandmother. They requested a private audience with Leo after dessert, which turned out to be a cube of something that tasted like regret and nostalgia. He followed Seralith to a smaller chamber lined with silver columns. The elders were already seated, their expressions carefully neutral. The oldest among them, who looked like he'd been grown rather than born, gestured for Leo to sit. We have questions, he said, and we ask them not out of malice but necessity. I appreciate that, Leo replied. As long as no one asks me to lift anything heavy. The elder gave a slow nod. You are not trained in royal protocol. Correct. You have no background in diplomacy, science, military, or commerce. I once fixed a printer without yelling. That's about it. You are entirely ordinary. Leo spread his hands. I'm the human equivalent of a paperclip, yes. Then why? Another elder asked. Do you think the queen chose you? He paused. I don't know. I didn't ask her to. She just did. They studied him for a long time. It was the kind of silence that filled airlocks right before someone got spaced. Then the first elder spoke again. That is not the answer we hoped for, but it may be the answer we needed. I get that a lot, Leo said, usually after people try to fire me. When they were dismissed, Seralith led him to a quieter part of the palace. The corridor was lit by low orbs that floated gently as they walked, casting soft halos of light. They don't trust me, Leo said. They don't trust anyone, she replied. They simply accept some people more efficiently than others. They stopped near a wide archway that overlooked a view of the capital below. Spires rose from the city like frozen lightning, and transports moved in orderly arcs across the sky. It was beautiful, alien, and intimidating as hell. I don't blame them, Leo said. I'm not what they expected. I'm not what you expected. She turned to face him. You are exactly what I expected. That's why I chose you. I can't even pronounce half the things I've eaten today. What can I possibly offer you? Truth, simplicity, a mind that questions, a presence that grounds. Also, very soft robes. Those were selected by my tailor, not you. I wore them with enthusiasm. That counts. Her smile was brief but real. You are not here because you are exceptional in the way they measure. You are here because you are exceptional in the ways I measure. Leo looked down at the city, then back at her. Do those ways include an impressive ability to embarrass myself in public? That is a bonus. Ah, good. From somewhere deep within the palace, a chime sounded. Velia's voice returned, prim and dry as ever. Incoming delegation from the Varn Dominion. Estimated time of arrival, 18 minutes. They request to inspect the new consort for signs of strategic coercion. Leo blinked. What does that mean? They suspect I was manipulated. Do you want me to act unstable? Because I can totally nail that. She shook her head. Just be yourself. That is far more destabilizing. He took a deep breath. All right, but if they ask me to recite a royal creed, I'm faking a fainting spell. Accepted. And together they turned back toward the hall, one armored queen and one confused, sarcastic human, walking headfirst into another alien crisis with nothing but wit, willpower, and a mutual, improbable alliance that no one in the galaxy yet understood. The Varn Dominion's delegation arrived in a ship that looked like it had been carved from a single obsidian monolith and then angrily bedazzled by someone with a grudge against minimalism. It hovered silently in the sky above the palace for a moment too long, the kind of theatrical pause that suggested either great technological sophistication or someone stalling because they couldn't remember which button lowered the landing ramp. Leo watched from the palace balcony, arms crossed over robes that had begun to itch in ways not previously known to human anatomy. They're going to be nice, right? He asked. Like galactic neighbors who brought you a cake nice? Sarilith, standing beside him in her formal armor that shimmered with every slight movement, tilted her head slightly. The Varn believe emotion is a weapon and kindness is a form of weakness. So, no cake? No cake. The landing ramp finally descended with a hiss that felt suspiciously dramatic. A group of tall, thin beings emerged, each draped in robes of black and silver that somehow managed to defy the concept of dust. Their faces were pale, with 4 eyes arranged like a domino, and they moved like spiders that had graduated from finishing school. The lead Varn stepped forward and offered a bow so shallow it could have doubled as an insult. We greet the sovereign of Cerelia and her selected appendage. Leo leaned in toward Sarilith and whispered, Did I just get called a limb? She didn't blink. It's a compliment. In their language, an appendage is something you trust to hold a weapon. Do they know my best weapon is sarcasm and a firm handshake? They do now. The formal greeting was followed by a procession into the council atrium, where the Varn were scheduled to observe the consort in a series of low-key tests. Leo wasn't sure what that meant, but he was already preparing a list of answers that began with, I have no idea, and ended with, please don't point that at me. The first test involved a memory scan, which consisted of placing his head into a device that looked like a robotic octopus with performance anxiety. It hummed, clicked, and emitted a puff of blue steam before projecting a series of Leo's memories into mid-air holograms. There was him spilling coffee on his shirt before a job interview, him failing to build a shelf from a certain Scandinavian furniture store, him waving too enthusiastically at a passing dog and tripping over his own foot. One of the Varn murmured, primitive, but honest. Another nodded. His pain is sincere. Leo gave them a thumbs up. Happy to disappoint. The second test was linguistic. A Varn presented a series of alien phrases and asked Leo to interpret them based on tone, inflection, and context. The first phrase, Grelthar Mako Linveras. Leo considered it, then answered, either let us join in peace, or your mother smells like molten algae. I'm leaning toward the second. The Varn made a note. Interesting. The ambiguity is noted. The third test was, apparently, a traditional Varn exercise in combat readiness, facing down a synthetic predator programmed to evaluate instinctual responses. A gate opened, and a beast made of shimmering metal and retractable limbs scuttled into the room, growling in six-part harmony. Leo backed up immediately and shouted, "Nope!" He then threw his shoe at it, which bounced harmlessly off its carapace. The Varn paused the simulation. Curious strategy. I figured I'd distract it with confusion and the smell of old leather. Result, fledgling but creative. After the test, the Varn requested a private moment with Sarilith. Leo sat in a side chamber where a servant brought him a drink that looked like liquid amethyst and tasted like victory mixed with mouthwash. He sipped it slowly and tried not to imagine the Varn offering Sarilith 20 moons and a diplomatic upgrade to drop the human accessory. Eventually, Sarilith returned, her expression unreadable. "Well," Leo said, "either they liked me or they're about to release a press statement calling me a political prank. They are baffled. This is good. It keeps them cautious. I'm happy to be a walking galactic enigma. They also asked if your scent was part of a mating ritual. I spilled part of the drink on myself." "Ah." They walked down one of the quieter corridors of the palace where windows opened to the stars, and Velia hummed softly through the walls. "I'm getting the impression that being your consort is less about ceremonial duties and more about strategic misdirection," Leo said. "Correct. You are an emotional variable. They do not understand variables. And if I keep wearing these robes long enough, I'll have a rash they definitely won't understand either." Sarilith stopped walking. "Do you regret this?" He looked at her. "Do I regret accidentally becoming the most talked about partner in the galaxy, enduring psychic scans and robotic tigers, and nearly eating a decorative venom spiral? Because somewhere in all that, I got to stand next to a woman who doesn't care about what the stars expect. She just chose. That means something." She stepped closer. Her long ears twitched slightly, the only tell of any emotion beneath her composed exterior. "You are not what they imagined. You are something better. Something real." Leo smiled. "Also, I didn't scream during the Predator test. That has to count for something." "Only slightly." They continued walking until they reached a viewing platform high above the city. Distant traffic shimmered like fireflies, and the sky pulsed with twin moons. "What now?" Leo asked. "Now we prepare for the convocation." "That sounds either very important or very exhausting." "Both. Every major leader in the galaxy will attend. They will wish to evaluate you personally." Leo rubbed his face. "Can I wear a disguise? Maybe go as a diplomatic fern?" "You will do what you always do, show them your truth." "Which part? The confused earthling or the guy who threw his shoe at a robot?" "Both, especially the shoe." As they stood beneath the stars, a gust of wind swept through the open archways, and somewhere deep in the palace, music began to play. A soft melody, alien, beautiful, and slightly off-key, as if someone had programmed a harp to dream. Leo reached out and took her hand. "I still think I'm underqualified." "You are. That is precisely why you are perfect." The grand convocation began with no fewer than 17 overtures, 3 ceremonial ship flyovers, and a dance performed entirely by floating jellyfish who communicated via bioluminescent poetry. Leo, dressed in what could only be described as a shimmering tuxedo forged by a committee of very ambitious tailors, stood behind Queen Sarilith on the dais as dignitaries from across the stars arrived, each trying to outdo the last with sheer spectacle. The representative from Thorax Prime entered riding a genetically engineered peacock lizard. The Evlari High Priestess floated in on a cloud of anti-gravity incense. The Groll ambassador arrived late, apologized by singing a mournful dirge about parking, and then promptly fell asleep in his chair. Leo leaned slightly towards Sarilith. "Is there a talent portion?" "This is the talent portion." "Ah, well, I regret not bringing a yo-yo." The Queen's gaze remained fixed ahead. "They will not attack in words today, but their eyes are sharper." Leo straightened up. "Fantastic. Good thing I moisturized." As the ceremonial greetings concluded, the council speaker, an ageless figure draped in shimmering white that seemed to refract opinions, stepped forward. "We gather today not only to acknowledge the union of Queen Sarilith and her chosen consort, but to affirm the direction of the Cerulean Empire as it stands at a crossroad of galactic unity. The room quieted. 1,000 faces turned toward Sarilith. She stepped forward, light catching the edge of her armor. Many wonder why I have chosen Leo. He is not a general, not a diplomat, not a creature of our worlds. And yet in his simplicity, I found strength. In his honesty, peace, and in his absurdity, surprising resilience. Leo gave a small wave. Hi, just here to emotionally destabilize galactic protocol. A chuckle rippled through the room. One of the Avlari clicked her fingers approvingly. The Groll ambassador snored louder. Sarilith continued, the galaxy does not need more warriors. It needs reminders of what it means to feel, to change, to choose outside of fear. The Varn delegation stood. Their leader stepped forward. The decision to bind with a Terran is unprecedented. It challenges order. Leo took a step, carefully avoiding the hem of his robe. You're not wrong. I challenge a lot of things. Balance, gravity, occasionally doors labeled push when I pull. But maybe that's the point. I'm not here to make sense. I'm here because she chose me. And if a queen of one of the oldest empires in the galaxy can take a risk for love, maybe the rest of us can risk understanding each other. The Varn delegate tilted his head. Do you speak for Earth? Definitely not. I barely speak for myself. But I can say this, humans are messy, but we're really good at trying again. Another ripple of murmurs. This time not disapproval, but curiosity. The council speaker raised her hand. The bond has been declared. The sentiment understood. Let this be recorded in the archive of stars. A great beam of light shone from the ceiling, etching the moment into living memory. Leo felt it settle over him like a gentle warmth, as if history itself had paused to take note. Later that evening, in the quiet garden suspended above the palace, Leo found Sarilith standing beneath a translucent tree whose branches hummed with soft energy. So, he said, approaching slowly, did I embarrass you in front of the galaxy? You challenged them, and they listened. That is more than I expected. I was worried I'd end up as a case study in diplomatic disaster. You still might, but a popular one. They sat on the bench together, the silence stretching comfortably between them. I never thought, Leo said after a moment, that my life would turn out like this. I was small, one face in a city of millions. Now I'm one face in a galaxy of trillions. You are still small, she said softly, but your presence bends the path of greater things. He smiled. That almost sounded romantic. It was intended as statistical analysis. They laughed. A voice crackled from behind a hedge, Velia's avatar appearing in shimmering form. Your Highness, your Majesty's consort has just become the top trending subject on 307 planetary forums. One caption reads, Earth male causes royal disruption, smiles while doing it. Fame at last, Leo said. Would you like to issue a statement? He leaned back. Tell them I'm still figuring out the shower knobs in this place. Logged. Sarilith turned to him, expression softer than he'd ever seen it. I chose you to shift expectations, but I never expected you would shift mine. Leo looked at her, then at the stars glowing above them like silent witnesses. You know what the craziest part is? I still don't know how to dance. Then it is fortunate I do. She stood, held out her hand, and pulled him to his feet. There was no music, just the hum of the garden, the soft thrum of distant engines, and the pulse of something new, something that had never existed before they collided. He stepped on her foot, twice. Maybe, she said dryly, we begin with walking. I can handle that, Leo replied. Probably. So they walked together, step by step, not toward a perfect ending, but toward a life where love had rewritten the rules, where a quiet man from Earth could stand beside a queen and not just survive, but matter. And for the first time since it all began, Leo didn't feel out of place. He felt home.